Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
you're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Hey everybody, welcome to Rob Nelson Live, Wednesday edition. Keeping these shows short, just trying to get punchy and get what's in there going. Get what's in there going. Wow, I sound like AOC meets Kamala Harris. Trying to get going the good stuff and just get it in there. So we're going to take a trip down memory lane today, back to the early and mid 90s, but we're not going to go there quite yet. And we're going to take a stop along the way in 2004. But right now we're going to start where we are today. Mark Zuckerberg goes to Congress, before Congress, and testifies about whether, the impact of the addiction, social media's addictive properties, and whether they intended it to be addictive. Okay, so there's so many layers to this. There's so many meta pieces to this meta story. Mark Zuckerberg, first of all, just even look at him. Looks like he's like a character out of like if you made up the nerd who is sort of ever youthful looking. And, when he starts out, he's boyish, and then he kind of grows into a man, and he still looks super young. And he doesn't really look like your typical like billionaire. He looks like your typical like tech nerd who, was a bit of a genius and, made a ton of money. And he kind of comes off that way, but don't be deceived. Mark Zuckerberg knows exactly what he's saying and doing. He's one of the richest people alive, and he built one of the most influential, transformative tech platforms in human history. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows exactly what he's saying. He kind of does a what me thing a lot. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, I know it's addictive. I mean, did we intend to? Of course not. Like, almost like, how did we get here? I just started a cool little thing. We will take a trip back to 2004. There is truth in the origin story. We'll get there. There is truth in the origin story of what Mark Zuckerberg intended to do when he started Facebook. There is zero truth in my mind in the current story of zero culpability. Didn't really know, done a lot of studies, done our best to protect kids. I mean, I hate to say it. It's like the old cigarette companies, well, not the old ones, but what the cigarette companies used to say, the Marlboros and the big tobacco companies. We didn't know stuff was addictive, and we certainly weren't trying to get people to do it, and certainly weren't trying to get kids to buy them. Are you kidding? I mean, adults is one thing. No part of us wanted kids to be smoking. Really? Really? The difference between cigarettes and social media is, at least cigarettes, they were like trying to get you when you were like 14, 15, get you as a teenager. Social media is after you at 9. And they have these parental controls and these blocks and stuff. It's all BS. Like, it's a massively addictive platform, and their number one focus has been 4 years, not 4 years, 4 years has been growth, and growth. There's not anything else they focused on other than growth and retention. With a social media company, they didn't know when they started that this is how it would work, but they figured it out. They figured out what was happening pretty quickly. They figured out how they were growing and what people wanted and what made people stay on the platform. And they figured out how to keep them on the platform, just like Marlboro. Did they know there was addictive chemicals inside their cigarettes? Of course they did. They knew what would make people smoke another one and another one and another one, and not shift brands. Social media is no different. We know what will make people stay on Instagram or X or Facebook or TikTok or dating apps, Twitter. What did it? I was going to say turnip. Tinder, Hinge, excuse me. They know what will keep people on the platform. And they want to keep people on the platform as long as possible. Now, what are the consequences of that? Did Facebook want to create a system where people would get so absorbed, they would get a feedback loop that would reinforce what they think to the point that they would not be able to think anything else, that they would no longer be able to see facts clearly if those facts didn't align with their feedback loop, and that would create competing feedback loops where you would create a society where people are so divided that it almost seems like an irreparable seam that can't be brought back? A seam that's broken that can't be rehealed? Because people I have friends in both sides. I have friends who are, I'm going to call them the CNN, MSNBC, although MSNBC is kind of irrelevant now, MS Now, whatever they call themselves. But just for the sake of argument, the Fox News, the CNN. People who watch one, and all you have to do is watch them side by side, and it's like watching two completely different stories about the same thing. It's like you're in two different universes watching the same exact story. Or two different universes, where in one universe, the five most important and only thing that happens stories are this, and in the other one, the only five things that are important that have happened are that. And they don't overlap. The same five things didn't happen in each of these universes in any given day. In Fox News land, these five things happen. In CNN land, these five things happen. And the other five didn't, the five flip the five, and there's certainly sometimes they cover the same story. But overall, flip the five, the same five never happened on the other one. So, and that is the result of social media, not the other way around. So did they think that they would create this bifurcated sort of ideological, cultural, social, political, mental divide across our country, across the world? No, I doubt it. Who could have seen that? What they thought was, we need to create an infinite feedback loop with content so that people stay on the platform. It's like a drug. Just keep giving them the drug. And if they start waning off it, give them some more. They'll get hooked. They'll keep wanting the drug. Marlboro, cigarettes. When you think of Instagram, think of cigarettes. So if you despise cigarettes, if you hate the cigarette companies for having done what they did, if you think it's the most odious, pernicious, ugly habit you could ever imagine, which is what, Nancy Pelosi started in California in the, early 90s, the movement to demonize smoking. And that is what it was. Her grandfather died of cancer. She made a mission to demonize smoking. The way you get rid of smoking would be to demonize it. More people die of alcohol, kidney failure, alcohol abuse and obesity are more deadly than cigarette smoking overall as a percentage of the population. Obesity, we actually made body positivity. Be as fat as you want. It's awesome. That's changed a little, but that's where we were very recently. And alcohol, be moderate. Wink, wink. Don't drink and drive, but please drink. So unless you all have Ubers, gosh, then maybe we should make parking at a bar illegal because most people drive. If you live in a big city and there's a lot of easy access, maybe you walk an Uber. But for most of America, people drive to drink. And they drink and they drive. And most people are driving over the limit, and everybody knows it. Most people who go to a bar in a car are driving over the legal limit when they go home. The legal limit's not that hard to cross. They're not swerving left, right, and center and can't see straight and blurred vision. There's some of those. Most drivers who go to a bar and drink are drinking and driving over the limit, and everybody knows it. So alcohol, obesity, America's diet, far worse overall, impact-wise, I would argue, than cigarette smoking. Not saying cigarette smoking is good, saying overall the impact. Yet we demonize cigarette smoking. Nancy Pelosi started it. The mission became, I watched it happen. It was fascinating. Turn smokers into people who are pariahs. You can't literally ban the substance yet, but we can get as close as possible. We can literally outlaw it everywhere. I know people who think if you smoke outside their building, somehow, even though nothing else can get in their windows, the smoke with them closed, the smoke will seep in and they can smell it. And it will, and if they get even a little secondhand smoke, it will be toxic and they could die. They could get cancer. They don't go that if I open the door and walk outside, I'm getting so much more toxic stuff that's in the air that I probably am getting cancer, which is why I have a ton of 30 and 35-year-old and 40, 45-year-olds and even 20 and 25-year-olds getting cancer because the stuff in the air and the food is killing us. But it's really the cigarette. Now, my point in that is not to defend a cigarette. It's a bad habit. So is drinking. So is breathing the air in our society and many of the things we do that contribute to that pollution. So is obesity. So is the food we eat. And so is social media. You should look at Instagram like you look at a cigarette. It is that toxic. It is that deadly. It is that poisonous. It is that destructive. And I would argue worse because it is literally taking entire generations' minds and rewiring them. Did they know it would do this? Not at first, but eventually, yes. They saw it doing it and they didn't care because they wanted people to buy their cigarettes. They wanted people on Instagram. I'm just picking Instagram because Mark Zuckerberg was testifying. All the social media platforms did the same thing. They wanted people on and they wanted to keep people on. The younger, the better, because then they'll stay on longer for more years. Same with the cigarettes. The younger, the better. Keep them on, keep them hooked, get them in. What are the consequences? Well, we don't worry about that. We know what the consequences were with cigarettes. The consequences we're learning with social media are that people's brains are rewired. Their way of looking at life, at themselves, suicides have gone up. Crime has, sort of the bullying, the world, the bullying and sort of online hatred, the vitriol that comes with that has gone up. Human connection has gone down. That's probably affecting birth rates. It's probably affecting male-female relationships, workplace relationships. I'm going to guess there's a rise in. I'm going to guess there's some parallel to the rise in quote mass shootings that go on. There's just the massive social disconnect, and we haven't even gotten to the AI piece yet. That's gone on, and it poisoned us. So Mark Zuckerberg goes, I didn't really know. Of course you knew. People around you, people have come out who were prominent in Facebook and other social media platforms and said, we saw what was happening. It was the guy who created the like button for Facebook, said if I'd had any idea this is what it would do, I never would have done it. I didn't do it. I did it to find a positive way for people to like something. I didn't realize it would become a tool of social validation that people's identities would be based on how many likes they got. And he said, I think it was, he said, my kids cannot watch and use any social media platforms. So they knew. Oh, but we put in controls. We put in things. We put a warning label on the cigarette package. Can cause cancer and other things, not for children. Porn's not for children either, but they're all watching it. It's a joke that he pretends he didn't know. Maybe the bigger joke is that there is zero legislation in our country around social media. And again, I don't even know what that legislation would look like because it'll be so politicized that will probably be to penalize certain viewpoints rather than to penalize platforms for what they do. And I don't even know if you can put the genie back in the bottle at this point. It's like an entire generation and a half has close to 2 generations is now been infected in some way. Gen Z may be the most in it, but millennials were too. And the next generation is going to be as well. They've already been infected. And the drug is hyper addictive. It's heroin on steroids, and it's toxic. It's brain rot. Your brain stops operating normally. Test it out. Your own feedback loop has been created in your social medias. And you get up and you look at them first thing. Some people say, I took a break a day, I take a break a day a week. Well, okay, the other 6 days you've taken the drug. Like, people look at it first thing. They click, they go through, they look, even their news feeds. It's all, the phone itself has become this sort of this syringe that you're holding in your hand, just giving yourself a little injection whenever you need it, whatever you need. And people's brains are wired to it. And they're wired to that feedback loop. And test, if you're honest with yourself, you are. I am, and I do it as little as possible. And I'm still hooked. And I'm not hooked anywhere near as much as most people I know. And you don't even know you're in the content loop, because all you see is what confirms your biases. And that's what the feed shows you. Again, CNN, Fox News, depending on which one you watch, you're going to always see one story. And people I know who watch Fox News, they have one view of the world. People I know who watch CNN, they have one view of the world. The people who watch both at the same time are like, wow, I think I'm living in two worlds. Like, wow, what's going on? But based on your feedback loop, you might decide, yeah, but one of those worlds is fake. It's that one. The truth is, neither one is fake and neither one is real. I mean, they're both partly fake and partly real. One isn't real and one fake, and one isn't fake and the other real. And neither one of them is wholly real or wholly fake. It's the feedback loop, and it just keeps getting reinforced over and over and over again, to where they know you can show somebody something factually and they will dismiss it because their feedback loop has shown them over and over again that's not true. It's kind of like the flat earthers. Show them all the evidence you want that the world's round. It's flat. It's flat. How do you know? I just do. And I'm not knocking religion, but religion can be the same thing. Show somebody with a faith in something, any evidence you want, they will dismiss it and go, I know, but I know God exists, and I know God loves me, and I know God's plan is in action. And I know that I go to heaven at the end of this. How do you know? I just know. Have you ever seen anyone who went to heaven? Well, not literally in heaven, but sure. I mean, I know people who've passed away and they're up there, and I know they're there, and I can feel their presence. Okay, but have you ever, like, did you ever take did you take a rocket ship to heaven or whatever you would take? No. You know anybody who has? No, but it's there, and I know it's there. Nothing will change that viewpoint. And I understand that. That's the power of faith. And Paul in Corinthians said, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So by definition, you can't prove faith. You have to simply have it. But social media is a slightly different thing. We can do the little wipe here because something got frozen on there. Social media is a slightly different thing. It's moved past faith. People actually believe the same way people do with faith. They have an absolute, utter conviction that whatever their feedback loop has told them is true, and nothing can change it. Nothing can alter that. No amount of facts can convince that person that what they have begun to know is true or false is true or false. This is why you have the Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, it's really quite simple when you come down to it, other than I'm not defending him and what a kind of a interesting, to say the least, person he is, and a narcissist and an egomaniac and all kinds of other things, as well as a brilliant politician and a force of nature. Both the good and the bad there in that description. But Trump derangement syndrome is 100%, no matter what. Trump can't, it's true. Trump could cure cancer, and a huge portion of the world would be like, either cancer wasn't cured or it was a bad thing to cure it, or certainly Trump didn't do it. There's no scenario for certain people to think Trump did something good, that the thing he did was actually good, and that he actually accomplished that good act. He didn't do it, it didn't happen, or if he did do it, it can't be good. Well, that's a twisted way to look at the world, but that's the world we live in. And on the other side of that, I call the Trump rearrangement syndrome. There are people who the same is true in the other way. Nothing Trump does can be bad. Everything Trump does somehow must be good, even if we don't fully see it and we make ourselves see it. And without Trump, everything would be bad. He's come in and fixed everything. And what he hasn't fixed is because it was so broken and he hasn't gotten around to it. So you've got both sides of that cooking at the same time. It's a version of that. That's how we got here. So I want to jump us back to 2004. Mark Zuckerberg, when Mark Zuckerberg first launches Facebook, there's a great interview where he is in his friend's house, apartment, outside of, in somewhere outside of, the Stanford area, outside of Silicon Valley. And the guys are literally, the one guy's trying to make videos, and he's kind of filming and on a camera, and the other guys are doing beer bongs and all this, and Mark Zuckerberg, he's trying to do a sit down with Mark about Facebook, which isn't it's new, and the guys are upside down with the bongs, trying to be in the camera and making fun, and it's like this goofy thing. It's real. You can find it. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. I've watched it. It's fascinating. And a young Mark Zuckerberg, kind of wide-eyed and eager, and he's and the friend interviewing him at one point says, do you think you'll change the world with this? And Mark Zuckerberg, without missing a beat, goes, no, I don't think I'm going to change the world, but I think it's going to be a great app for college students to connect with each other, and it's going to be pretty cool, and I think it can be pretty successful, in campuses everywhere. I swear to God, there is no version of Mark Zuckerberg that realized he was going to be a transformative force that would alter technology. He would become one of the most influential tech, create one of the most influential tech platforms for good or for bad that would literally alter the landscape of humanity going forward. No part of him saw that. Maybe Jeff Bezos saw what Amazon could become. Elon Musk, pretty visionary. Mark Zuckerberg thought he was making a really cool thing for college students to connect, and could be big and successful and make money, but he didn't know he was going to change the world. And he did. And now he's kind of saying, I never knew I was going to change the world. But he doesn't literally say those words, but I never knew it could do this. I don't think he did know it could do it. I don't think anybody knew it could do it until it started doing it. But then they knew it could do it. And then they knew it was doing it. And then it was too late because they wanted to grow and they wanted to make more money. And they had shareholders to appease. And they were in a competition with others. And it all went downhill. This is a bad sign of things to come when you look at how we're developing AI. There's a race. There's a race to the top or the bottom on this. And ethics and values and what it will do to people will be second to, can I beat the competition? Whether that's within our own country, the competition of different companies, or whether that's country to country. Who can win the race? It's going to put social media on steroids in terms of the potential risks. And yes, there'll be huge upsides. I'm a big AI person, but the risks, the costs, the consequences, the what it might do to people is going to be wiped away. The only difference is social media is just a tool. AI is an intelligent technology. It is an intelligence. Right now, I call it an alternate intelligence, not artificial. And it's not sentient, but it's already learning how to grow itself. And it will have its own view, as I've said before, about us and about humanity and how worthwhile we are and how destructive we are. And if we turn ourselves into a bunch of drug addicts in one way or another, whether that drug is a physical drug, online drug, or simply what AI does to our brains in the next level, they very well might just decide we're best kept as relics and just utilized for our benefits, because AI ultimately won't need us. That's another conversation which I've had. That's not me just being doomsday. That is an inevitable evolution. Remember, AI has been taught from day one how to evolve itself. It learned to code first. We were never taught how to evolve ourselves. We just kind of stumble our way through it for centuries and thousands of years. AI was taught right early on. Here's how you develop. Here's how we grow you. Now you can code yourself versions forward better than we can. It's a fascinating thing, and it's going fast. What we're seeing with social is the first tiny little piece of that. So I said I'd take us all the way back to the 90s, and I will kind of wrap up around this. So 1992, I'm launching an organization called Leader Leave with the guy, my partner in it at the time, John Cowan. And we want to get a package to Ross Perot before the debate so he can take a pledge, the leader leave deficit pledge to cut the deficit in half or quit. And we wanted all the candidates, Congress, members of Congress, candidates for the 92 election presidential to take it. We find a home address, which we could find. We get a package. We get to FedEx outside of DC, the Dulles airport. And the FedEx guy says, we're closed. The last shipments are gone out and it's not quite closing time yet. I'm like, but it's not closing time yet. He's like, we're done. I'm like, but it's not 6 yet. He's like, we're done. And he points to the tarmac and says, see that plane out there? That's our last plane. And it's already out there with its engines running. So it's too late. I go, not too late for me. I take the package, which has all been filled out. We'd done that, ready to go. Run out across the tarmac, past security, out to the plane. Engines whirring, rain starting to fall. Security's chasing after me. I'm young, I'm fast. The pilot literally slides open his window. It's a prop plane, and looks at me, and I'm like, please get this package to Dallas tomorrow. It's really important. It's going to one of the presidential candidates. Just please. He looks at me, looks at the package, takes it as his scanner, scans it. It goes in, takes it. He says, it'll be in Dallas tomorrow. And he's like, now, if I was you, I'd got to deal with that because I got to go. So get out of the way of my plane. But again, the props are running. I get caught by security. We escape security. It's a whole story. We don't have time in this episode to do the great escape story. But it was out of a movie. And a couple days later, I watch at the gym in DC as Ross Perot on the debates says, so there's this group of these young people called Lead or Leave. And I took their pledge. I said, I'll take their pledge about the deficit. That actually happened. Package, running to a plane, putting it on the plane. Package gets to him. He opens the package in his house, sees it, thinks it's interesting, signs it, brings it up in the debate. Can't make it up. I'm at the gym watching, wearing my Lead or Leave t-shirt. I'm like, wow, it just happened. No social media. No way of communicating broadly except through traditional broadcast and CNN. Minimal cable and radio. We're old school. We're linear. We're OG technology for communication back then, in newspapers and magazines. That couldn't happen today for so many reasons. And you can just start the list. From running across the tarmac, you wouldn't just get held by security for a while. They'd have cops all over you, think you're a terrorist and you're being locked up. To having the pilot actually take the package. To having the person who's a presidential candidate actually go get their mail and open it. To having them talk about it on the news without ever talking to us. None of that happens. That world doesn't exist. That's a relic. That's it's the equivalent of me in the 90s looking back at the 50s. You couldn't do in the 90s what you could do in the 50s. You can't do in the 2000s what you could do in the 90s. In the 2020s, you can't even do what you could do in the 2000s and the 2004s. We have moved so far away. And I joke, 90s were the golden age. Everybody knows it. That's why everybody watches Friends. That's why Friends is on 24/7 everywhere. My girlfriend's in her 30s. She watches Friends. It's like her drug of choice to relax. It's like, I lived Friends. I lived that era. It was the best era ever. It was the last time, mid-90s to the early 2000s, that you could kind of do whatever you wanted in a way. You could live and explore and experience, and human connection was still real. And I'm not trying to sound like an old grandpa with this stuff, because I know in the 50s, they were like, well, back then in the good days. But let's be honest, the 90s were the good days. And what shifted was a massive cultural, political, technological shift that fragmented us. And it started in the mid-2000s, and it just shattered. Okay. And I love the benefits that technology has brought us. I'm doing a live stream to you guys right now. I want to do a live stream up Everest. I want to take virtual reality. I want to try all this stuff. But we got to now take it awareness and go, but this stuff can be dangerous and addictive and can destroy us if we don't learn how to manage it differently. And the management isn't pass more laws in Congress. I said they don't have any laws, because what laws would they even do other than to probably weaponize it, depending on which party's in power, or pretend they're going to make it so kids can't get it. Kids are getting it. Like I said, kids are watching porn in junior high and passing it around to each other, texting it or whatever. Like, they're doing social media. Can't put that genie back in the bottle. But we can hopefully step forward into the next iteration of this and do it differently. Not with our blinders on, but with an awareness. And it's going to take, the beauty of this challenge is the way we will win this battle is by rediscovering the single thing that all this technology isn't: human. Social media pulled people away from more human interaction, in some ways away from what was truly human about us. AI will do it next level. But all that will remain powerful is us as humans. And I've said this, and I'll keep saying it. It's my new mantra. What keeps us human is what will set us apart. But that means we have to focus between one another on what keeps us human. We have to make that choice. And we can. And I'm hoping we do, because it's a beautiful future. We're not going to get rid of the tech. It's a question of whether we're going to let the tech destroy us or get rid of us or wipe out who we are, literally or figuratively. That is a choice we make. The tech doesn't make that choice alone. And I'm rooting that we make it. It's not too late, but we got to get started. I'm going to be talking more and more about this. I'm Rob Nelson. Thanks for watching. Have a good night and have some fun. Human fun.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
hey, I don't have all the